Good morning. Welcome to the Saturday Six. It's good to be back. We've got a good slate of games this week. I call this week Tighten the Hold. I mean, there's an opportunity for some teams that I think are in the hunt for conference titles, division titles, to sort of strengthen their hold. On that race, to be able to hand, a team a loss and head to head, put themselves really in a position to win their conference, win the division title. We've got some good games this week. Some of the games we're going to cover this week do have a little bit of a bigger spread than you might expect for the Saturday Six. But what happens, we're starting to hit the point of the season where, we have confidence in the fact that, like, when we say Alabama is a bit of an outlier team on the offensive side of the football, that we have enough data to start to really back that up. So even though we'll say we have a matchup of two top 20 teams in Alabama and Tennessee, when you start to get to the point where you are with Alabama's offense, there's going to be a pretty significant point spread associated with that, with number 3 versus number 20. But we've also got some games that are where, Vegas and the math models are very much in opposition to where, the human polls have it. Iowa State versus Oklahoma State's an example. Wisconsin versus Purdue is another example. There's just games that, consistently, as you're looking through and this does happen throughout the season, but, this week there are 4 games where, a ranked team is an underdog. That's really indicative of where, the human polls and the, and often reality in Vegas, disagree. So we're going to run through, a couple of those games here. But yeah, it's an exciting week. I think we've got a really good slate of games here. And some unexpected, some really still unexpected underdogs, some teams that, while we have some teams that have really, and units that have performed up to expectations this season, we're also going to cover some teams and units that have absolutely outperformed expectations for maybe what we had coming into this year in unexpected ways. We also have, we're going to cover Clemson and their offense is one of the most disappointing units of any team this season. So, but this week does present an opportunity. I think in particular, this Oregon State-Utah game, one of these teams really does have an opportunity to strengthen their hold on, their division, and then of course the other team is going to be really struggling with, a loss, if they take a loss in the game. So it's a pivotal matchup. I know all eyes are going to be in Pasadena for Oregon and UCLA, but in a lot of ways, the better matchup is this Oregon State-Utah game. So let's jump in. I'm excited. Let's go ahead and do the games this week. Our first game this week, of course, pits, Nick Saban against Josh Heupel. This side of the football here, Bill O'Brien is going to be taking on Tim Banks as Tennessee's defensive coordinator. They're not, they've improved a little bit, right? They're at number 44 overall in beta rank. We're not talking about, an exceptional defense here. Of course, with Alabama, we absolutely are talking about an exceptional offense. They're number 1 overall in beta rank right now, and deservedly so. The drive efficiency at number 1 overall, they're able to put together long drives to be able to put up points. Number 4 in explosive drives, they're terrific at explosive plays. Really, getting terrific numbers there. The number, they're on play efficiency. It's the least important of the core 4 beta rank metrics, but they're very good at that as well. Their yards per play control, and all these metrics are controlling for opponent and field position, is excellent. Negative drives, they don't have to have a lot of 3-and-outs, not a lot of turnovers, not a lot of heading backwards. This Alabama team is a really, really good offense. No number outside the top 4 of their core 4 beta rank metrics. Big, decent run pass split. They're more of a passing team. Bryce Young's excellent, in his first year running this offense. They definitely lean in more to throwing the football around. Really good job, I think, by this offense so far this season, really living up to expectations, and seamlessly transitioning to a new play caller. And I've called this out before. In a lot of ways, Nick Saban's superpower is hiring, and you can see it here, right? Like, a lot of people, when they try to, they have to move to a new play caller, it's hard to get it right again. Nick Saban consistently gets it right time after time. I mean, and there are some instances, of course, where it didn't work, and you could argue maybe it's not working on the defensive side of the ball with Pete Golding, but Saban definitely has found his sort of superpower, both in recruiting and in hiring. Tennessee on the other side of the ball, their defense, number 44 overall, they're kind of improving a little bit as the year goes on, but 58 in drive efficiency, that's not a great number. I mean, you can put together drives against this defense. 50 in explosive drives. Absolutely, this defense is susceptible to big plays. Their play efficiency number is pretty good, number 16 overall. They have found ways to limit the yards per play that they're giving up to opposing offenses. Negative drives at 41. That's a decent number. I mean, these are all numbers, for the most part, that they really need to improve, over the years. But it's really, you just year one for Heupel and Banks, and with everything they lost in the transfer portal. But 41 in negative drives is, they need to force more 3-and-outs, more turnovers. They're better against the pass than they are against the run. That's certainly a positive coming into playing Alabama, who's so effective throwing the football around. But Bama, I mean, at 28 overall, it's more that Bama chooses to throw the ball. They certainly can run the ball if they want to. If you flip it around to the other side of the ball, I think this is a really interesting job that Heupel's done. He's your play caller here. 17 overall in beta rank. They're at 28 in drive efficiency. This is a team that they could, they certainly need to work on. They're about middle of the Power 5 at being able to put together, drives to put up points. Their explosive drives, they definitely do depend more on big plays. That's number 18 here. Number 15 in play efficiency, decent yards per play. This is a pretty good number for them, controlling for opponent and field position. Negative drives, this is again a little bit more like drive efficiency, a number that they need to work on. Fewer 3-and-outs, fewer turnovers, fewer bad things happening to this offensive unit. But what's amazing, I mean, given Heupel's air raid background, the numbers that they really regularly put up at UCF, is that they run the ball this effectively. Number 6 in effective rush, number 78 in effective pass. Heupel's really adapted to the personnel that he's found in Knoxville, and I think that's a real credit to him as a play caller, and something that I think, I don't know, maybe people are just going to, walk right by, but you have this kind of a change from his splits that you used to see at UCF. That's a remarkable thing for someone to be able to sort of change their stripes like that. Other side of the football, Alabama's defense isn't great. I mean, they're kind of middle of the road in the Power 5, number 32 overall. Where they really, really struggle right now is drive efficiency. They struggle to find ways to get off the field. Number 81 in drive efficiency, number 9 in explosive drives. That's a really good number. It is hard to put up big plays against this defense, so they definitely have that going for them. But they do need to find ways to get off the field. Number 29 in play efficiency. That's sort of more of a middle of the Power 5 type number. They don't force enough 3-and-outs, not enough turnovers in their negative drives. They're a little bit better against the run than they are against the pass. They're going to get a test against this Tennessee defense. I mean, they were able to, with Ole Miss, who also has a really good offense, to really force Ole Miss to chase points all game. I mean, and that's not a negative. I mean, I think a lot of football coaches say that as a negative. Like, if you're playing the Alabama offense, like, you absolutely have to chase points. You can't leave anything on the field, right? Field goals are not going to cut it. We'll see what Tennessee is able to do here. Alabama's got an 89% win probability. They're a 17.28 favorite, here against Tennessee. Of course, you like Bama in this game. They probably need to turn the ball over 2 or 3 times in order to really, make a really close game out of this. This is an interesting one, because if you look at who's actually ranked in the human polls, it's not Iowa State. But this is Matt Campbell versus Mike Gundy. Mike Gundy's on a new rolling 5-year contract, sort of a lifetime contract with Oklahoma State, you might say. This is fascinating because it's a very different Oklahoma State team than we're used to seeing from Mike Gundy. But you get an underrated Iowa State team. I think a team that, despite some key turnovers against Iowa and Baylor, has played really well under the radar. Number 10 overall on offense. Tom Manning's your offensive play caller here. They're at number 19 in drive efficiency. They're pretty good, at putting together drives to put up points. Number 15 in explosive drives. Again, pretty explosive offense. And none of these are in the top 10. All of these are solid numbers, though. With the exception of play efficiency. Play efficiency is in the top 10. Number 6 in play efficiency. Negative drives at 19. Not a ton of 3 and outs, not a ton of turnovers. They have a decent run pass split. Breece Hall is terrific, has been terrific this season. But Purdy does a lot of the heavy lifting in this offense as well. Number 15 in effective pass. You're definitely going to have to, it's handy if you can line up and take away Hall if that's possible. But Purdy, on his own is going to cause you problems. This Oklahoma State defense under Jim Spencer is really good. Really, really good for the second year in a row. Last year, I kind of wondered coming into this year whether it was going to be a little bit of like 2020 data mirage, where we had that weird COVID year with the data and, some of what we thought we learned last year is carried over. Some of it really hasn't. This really has. This Cowboy defense is really good. They had a pretty good outing last week against Texas. Number 3 overall, number 18 in drive efficiency. It is, they rank pretty well here. It's somewhat tough to be able to put together long drives to put up points against them. They do a really good job containing explosive drives. They're tough to put up big plays against. Number 7 in play efficiency. This is a solid number 2 for their, controlling their opponent's yards per play. But where they really shine is negative drives, causing 3 and outs, causing turnovers, forcing the opposing offense into bad situations. They have a really, they have a pretty effective run pass split of their own. They're at number 2 in effective rush, number 11 in effective pass. This is going to be a fun matchup to watch. This side of the ball is one that you should absolutely keep an eye on, but also because the other side of the ball is a little bit of a mismatch. So offensively, Mike Gundy's really lost his fastball. And I do think that, I don't want to judge Casey Dunn, Oklahoma State's offensive play caller, until, he's one of the best wide receiver coaches in the country. He's kind of bided his time, waiting for this opportunity to run the offense. I'm not sure Spencer Sanders is the guy that's going to get you there. And they do need to, I want to see Dunn, post Sanders or with another quarterback to see if it works. Oklahoma State's a team that, despite the undefeated record, I think you watch some tape and you kind of wonder if Sanders is the guy that's going to get them there. And it's, like a lot of teams, like your Oregons and Wisconsins, that there's anyone on the bench that might be able to make this offense a little bit more effective. But number 59 overall in drive efficiency, they're struggling there. This grades out as a really bad Power 5 offense currently. They're not great at explosive drives. Number 79 overall. Their play efficiency is not great either. They're controlling their yards per play, controlling for opponent field position. Negative drive isn't great. Too many 3 and outs, too many turnovers, too many instances where bad things are really happening to this offense. They have a decent run pass split. They're better running the ball than they are throwing the ball around. And we just kind of get the hunch. Dunn's been there so long that he'd like to throw the ball around a little bit more. That's tough when you have Sanders. This Iowa State defense is really good. John Heacock is your defensive coordinator here. They're number 10 overall in beta rank. The one that stands out is they have struggled a little bit getting off the field. Number 65 overall in drive efficiency, but their per play numbers are pretty darn good. So normally I say this, if you're going to give up yards, you eventually give up points. I expect this drive efficiency number as Iowa State, we get more data in on them. I expect that it's going to continue to come down. Also, as they play better and as well. But as that continues to come down, their other metrics are in a good spot. So 7 in explosive drives, 3 in play efficiency, 6 in negative drives. They don't give up big plays. They control the opponent's yards per play. And they, force 3 and outs and force turnovers. They're better against the run than they are against the pass. That's a good place to find yourself against this Oklahoma State, offense here. This is a game that Oklahoma State's probably going to have to force some turnovers to be able to hang in. Iowa State's got an 85% win probability in beta rank. They're a 14.5 point favorite in the model against Oklahoma State. And it's really mostly because of this matchup here. I mean, they just have more of an advantage on this side of the ball. This is different. I mean, this Texas game last week was not, Texas is not a balanced team. That Texas defense is maybe a year or two away under Kwiatkowski. This team for Iowa State's pretty balanced on both sides of the ball. This is going to be a challenge for the Oklahoma State offense in a way that last week really wasn't. I thought Oklahoma State's defense had a terrific week last week. They're going to need to force turnovers to really be able to hang in this one, probably with Iowa State. This one, I mean, were we expecting Pitt the favorite? At the beginning of the year? This is Pat Narduzzi and Dabo Sweeney, of course. Mark Whipple's your offensive play caller for the Pitt Panthers. That Mark Whipple, yeah. And Kenny Pickett's just having a heck of a year. And of course, Brent Venables is, still really, really good at his job. So you get the number 19 Pitt offense, you get the number 7, Clemson defense. We've got this Pitt offense. They're really good at drive efficiency, right? They find ways to put up points. Like they're very effective at putting drives together. Number 36 in explosive drives. They're a little less dependent on big plays. Here, like they're and that's good because it's hard to put up big plays if you look over on the other side. It's hard to put up big plays against this Clemson defense. Their play efficiency is decent. And negative drives, they're pretty solid. Some of the this isn't a great Power 5 offense, but I mean they're good. I mean, by Pitt standards, they're fantastic, right? I mean, Pitt in the last couple seasons has been a little bit more, in the mold of a Michigan State, a defense first team that struggles, offensively. They're a lot better here, but they're huge run pass split. They're definitely going to lean into throwing the football with Pickett. Number 7 in effective pass, 71 in effective rush. They get a very good Clemson defense with Venables. Number 8 in drive efficiency. They're able to find ways to get off the field. Number 3 in explosive drives. This is a really good number. It's really hard to put up big plays against this Clemson defense. Their play efficiency at number 20 and negative drives at 21. This is a little bit of a watch out and why you don't see this defense in the top 5 currently. They are, teams have found ways to be able to put up a decent yards per play against them thus far. And they're not forcing enough 3 and outs, not enough turnovers. But in the top 10 on both effective rush and effective pass, no big split there. You're gonna have to really grind it out against this Clemson team to be able to put up points. But you flip it around, and this is why you can see that Pitt has an advantage in this game. And what's going to help them is, for the most part, they should be working off much shorter fields than Clemson if they're doing it right. Pitt's at number 18 on the defensive side of the ball. Clemson is all the way down at number 92. Tony Elliott's your play caller here. Randy Bates is your play caller on this Pitt defense. 92 for Clemson. This is an awful offense, and it is full stop. I don't think not on Tony Elliott. I mean, they need a QB change like nobody's business. It is not working. And I understand that the guy, may be continuing to win the job in practice, and you want to reward that. Sometimes it just doesn't translate into games, and it's currently not translating into games for them. So 99 in drive efficiency. They're awful at sustaining drives. 88 in explosive drives. They struggle to put up big plays. Their play efficiency number is not great at number 96. Their negative drives number compared to their others number is good. It's still a very bad Power 5 number. 64 in negative drives. They have a pretty big run pass split. So, they struggle, running the football, but they're even worse throwing the football. This has become just an execrable passing offense under the, for them. They get a Pitt defense that's pretty good. This is a fairly balanced Pitt team. Not great on either side of the ball, but good on both sides of the ball. So number 18 there, number 17 in drive efficiency. They find ways to get off the field through, play calling and execution, timely blitzes. Number 40 in explosive drives. You can put up some big plays against them. Clemson might have to be able to hang in this game. Number 25 in play efficiency. This is, that's a decent number. I think combined is where you get into the top 20 here. Negative drives, this is another solid number for them, though. I mean, forcing 3-and-outs, forcing turnovers. They're better against the run than they are against the pass. That's a good setup for them against a Clemson team that struggles to throw the football as much as this Clemson team does. The fact that it is at Pitt helps as well. We've got Pitt as an 81% win probability here. 10.5, 10.67 favored in the model, with the home field. Pitt should win this game. It's close enough, though, that if Pitt turns the ball over once or twice, they could lose. I mean, and Clemson could, Clemson has enough talent that if they ever put it together, right? Like that's one of the dangers, of a team like Clemson. If they could put it together, right, with everything that they have, talent wise, they could really, wipe the floor with somebody like Pitt still, right? Like this defense is still really good if the offense could, but we have enough data on this offense right now. It's hard to see them taking like a massive step forward and suddenly playing like a top 10 offense. Here, even if they took a step forward and played like a top, 30 offense in this game, that's just going to make this game really a toss up. So I'm excited to see this game. If you're a Pitt fan, you should be excited. And if you're a fan of the ACC, watching Clemson, suddenly struggling and scuffling along, I think, even though in some ways they've covered up some of the sins of the conference in a lot of ways with their playoff runs, it's nice to see, it's getting a little topsy-turvy and Clemson struggling a little bit, I think, if you're an ACC fan. This is one where, again, it is, this is a tight matchup. This should be an interesting one, but Purdue's favorite. Purdue's favorite in beta rank. I think the money's coming on Wisconsin. But it is at Purdue. This should be an interesting matchup in a lot of ways, right? So with this is Paul Chryst versus Jeff Brom. Did I get that right? Yeah. There's two Broms. It's Jeff Brom's the head coach. But this Wisconsin offense under Chryst is just really, really struggling. They're at number 62 overall. That is a very bad Power 5 offense. Number 34 in drive efficiency. That's a decent number for them comparatively. They can put together long drives to be able to put up points, but they're struggling. They're really bad at explosive drives at number 84 overall. Their play efficiency number is okay. It's bad for the Power 5, but yards per play, controlling per opponent, they're doing a decent job here, but it's the least important of the core 4 beta rank metrics. You get more bang for your buck in other places. Where they're really struggling, too many 3-and-outs, too many turnovers. Their negative drives number at 93 that's just awful. But 25 in effective rush. They're still a decent rushing offense. If the passing offense could do anything, teams would be forced to change their approach to playing Wisconsin, but they can't. They're at 109 in effective pass. Mertz is just awful, and sticking with him at this point is just utterly confusing for someone that really should know better in Paul Chryst, right? It's definitely time for them to make a QB change, unless what you're seeing in practice is so bad, from the other QBs that you have no confidence that it's going to work better on the field. But continuing to run Mertz out there, it's clearly not working, and I don't think he's going to get it. They get a Purdue defense that's pretty good. Brad Lambert's your play caller here. It's his first season. He's been a really nice addition. So they're number 9 overall in beta rank. They're at number 1 in drive efficiency. What they really excel at is, they do find ways to get off the field, in timely way, in a timely fashion, right? Like they are a team that, if you look at their explosive drives and play efficiency numbers, like they do give up some yards, but they really are a team that it's tough to execute, the entire length of the field against. 29 in explosive drives, sort of a middle of the Power 5 number at controlling the big plays. Their play efficiency number is decent at 37, again, like a kind of a middle of the Power 5 type number. They could certainly improve all of these, including negative drives, not really enough 3-and-outs, not really enough turnovers. They're a little bit better against the pass than they are against the run. Of course, they have an excellent pass rush. But these numbers are where Wisconsin could potentially find themselves in trouble in this game. But of course, you flip it around and it's like looking in a mirror, right? Like all of a sudden you have a Purdue offense under Brian Brom, and this is okay. I mean, like you're kind of short. You're shading into like the wrong side of average in the Power 5 at 44 overall. Their drive efficiency is okay. Number 50 overall in drive efficiency. Number 50 in explosive drives again. These are numbers that they really need to improve on. They're not really putting together enough long drives. They're not really putting together enough big plays. Where they sort of excel here to call out quickly is they're at 31 in negative drives. So, they certainly are a pretty good team, I guess you could say, compared to their other numbers at, not going 3 and out, not throwing, not having turnovers. That's a really solid thing considering how good their defense is, how well their defense has been playing. They have a huge run pass split, 10 in effective pass, 117 in effective rush. They're just not throwing the ball well enough to really get into where you can afford to be this bad at running the ball. I mean, they kind of like, if you need to be closer to like 2 or 3 in effective pass to really have a number where you're this bad throwing, running the football and have a decent offense. So for that, I mean, they may need to lean more into throwing the football effectively. They get a Wisconsin defense that's just excellent under Jim Leonard. Number 3 in drive efficiency. It is tough to put together long drives against this Wisconsin defense. 20 in explosive drives. They've been a little bit susceptible to some big plays. But number 4 in play efficiency and 5 in negative drives. They force a lot of 3 and outs, force a lot of turnovers. Put you behind schedule. Number 3 in effective rush, number 7 in effective pass. This is going to be a real test for this Purdue offense, here to go against Wisconsin. Now they did benefit. They had some short fields against Iowa. They were able to put up some points against the Hawkeyes. That maybe gives them a little bit of confidence coming into this game. We've got Purdue at home as a 55% win probability here and a 1.78 favorite. I mean, really just getting the benefit of, the home bump, here in this game. This game is quite nearly a toss up. Here's another close one. So, this is Kyle Whittingham and Jonathan Smith, 2 of the better coaches going in the Pac-12 right now. I mean, I don't think either of these guys are the kind of flashy, like high end, it's going to spend a lot of time, being talked about on game day kind of coaches, but do a really, really good job, I think. I mean, Whittingham has the longer track record, but Smith's, performance, I think, building Oregon State back up from nearly nothing is really something to see. But this should be a really good game. And like I said, like in a lot of ways is the better game, versus that Oregon versus UCLA matchup taking place in Pasadena that game day is going to. So you get Utah at 29 on offense. Andy Ludwig's your offensive play caller here. This is a decent, they've really stepped it up since Cam Rising's come in. It's made a huge difference for this offense. They struggle in drive efficiency though still. I mean, they struggle to put together long drives to put up points. Number 20 in explosive drives though, they are pretty good at putting up big plays. And that's crucial for them. I mean, Rising is a big addition there in their ability to put up big plays. And for him to be able, with his legs as well, to be able to open up some of the passing game as he's able to buy time. Number 34 in play efficiency, kind of a middle of the road number there. Where they're really good is negative drives, avoiding 3 and outs, avoiding turnovers, avoiding negative things happening to the offense. Not a big run pass split here. And it's impressive what Rising's been able to add here because the offensive line for Utah hasn't been great. And they struggled a bit in pass protection. They're not always great at opening up holes, but Rising adds a dimension to this offense that you have to also cover that I think opens things up both for the running game and the passing game. On the defensive side of the football for Oregon State, this unit really still struggles. Tim Tibesar is your defensive coordinator here. They've made significant strides since being one of the worst units in college football when Smith took over. that said, like, they've kind of stalled out here as a very bad Power 5 defense. And, I think that it's worth wondering whether Tibesar is working out and whether a change at DC might be in order after this season, given that they're not really improving off of where they've kind of settled here. Number 99 overall drive efficiency. You can put together long drives against this defense. 55 in explosive drives. They struggle to contain big plays. Their play efficiency numbers also in the bad range. But negative drives, relatively speaking, they're better at 3 and outs and turnovers. A little bit better against the run than they are against the pass. Flipping around on the other side of the ball, this should be a really fun matchup here. Oregon State's offense, called by Brian Lindgren, with of course input from Smith. This is what they've been able to do. This is a terrific offense, in particular considering the struggles that they've really had at quarterback, this season. So, number 18 in drive efficiency overall. They are able to put together long drives to put up points. They are able to put up explosive drives. This 18 in play efficiency here is solid as well. They don't do a lot of 3 and outs, take a lot of 3 and outs and turnovers. Their negative drives number at number 10. This is a solid unit since Chance Nolan took over. But what Nolan adds dimension wise is he generally, I'm trying not to sneeze. Sorry for that pause. It's better than me completely sneezing. What Nolan adds is he generally takes care of the ball, and he's effective, when he has to throw. He's not great, but he's effective when he's asked to throw. But his dimension that he adds with his legs is solid too. Number 4, an effective rush. Number 65, an effective pass. You definitely know what you have to do if you want to stop Oregon State. They get a Utah defense that's number 25 overall in beta rank. They struggle in drive efficiency. You have been able to put up some long drives against this Utah defense, but where they've been really good is controlling big plays. So it'll be interesting to see if Oregon State's able to continue and stay ahead of schedule, and Smith and Lindgren are terrific play callers. If they are able to stay ahead of schedule here, they'll be able to put up drives. They'll probably be putting up long drives to put up points here. Number 24 in play efficiency and 31 in negative drives. Those are kind of more middle of the road type numbers. They're certainly going to need to be able to put up some 3 and outs and turnovers in this game as well. 26 in effective rush, 28 in effective pass. Not really a big split here. Oregon State we have this really as a toss-up heading into this game here. 50% win probability either way. This could go a lot. Either. It's interesting because Oregon State's offense, they're like, if they are able to really run the football on this Utah team, and the Utah defensive line hasn't been as dominant as maybe we've expected in years past. If they're able to run the ball and hits, like they're gonna have to play catch up, I think, with this offense in a lot of ways here, because their defense is such a problem. So keep an eye on that. Like if Oregon State's able to run the ball, this will be a close game. If they're not able to run the ball and Utah's able to stack the box and take things away without giving up too much in the passing game, then Utah could really win if they're able to do that. This one should be a lot of fun. This will be at West Point. West Point in the fall is, of course, for my money, the best setting in college football. So Wake Forest comes in. Dave Clawson's your head coach here. Jeff Monken's your head coach in Army. Wake's at number 23 overall in beta rank on offense right now. Warren Ruggerio's your offensive play caller here. They're at 12 at drive efficiency. They're able to put together some long drives to put up points. Struggling a little bit more. They're kind of middle of the power road at putting up, or power five, middle of the road, middle of the power five, mixing up metaphors. in their explosive drives number here. Not putting up a ton of big plays, controlling for opponent field position. They're decent at play efficiency at 41 overall. It's like I repeatedly say, it's the least important of the 4 metrics there. Where they struggle and could certainly use some improvement is, just too many negative drives, too many 3-and-outs, too many turnovers, too much shooting themselves in the foot or letting the defense, do something to them. Decent run pass split here. You definitely need to be more cognizant of what they're going to be able to try to do throwing the football around. Number 19 an effective pass and 40 an effective rush. They get an Army defense. This is a really good number for a service academy at number 45 overall. It's tough to play defense and recruit defense at the service academies. Number 29 in drive efficiency. They do a decent job, forcing you to use the whole, drive the length of the field. They find ways to get off of it. Number 46 in explosive drives. That's a little bit of a watch out for them there, as they have given up some big plays. Their 81 in play efficiency is not great. You certainly can get some yards per play against this team, and they're 60 in negative drives. I mean, they're not forcing enough 3-and-outs or turnovers. They do a really good job against the run. They are really susceptible against the pass, though, and it is tough to recruit secondary talent that can really cover and pass rushers, to the service academies. So, this Army team, they really make their hay at really trying to stop the run, and they're effective with that with the scheme. But then you can see where they struggle here against the pass. That'll be interesting against this Wake Forest offense here, which is pretty effective at throwing the ball. So, you might see a pretty skewed stat line, as Wake Forest may just lean into throwing the ball if they can in this game. You flip it around to the other side, though, and this is a pretty fun matchup here. Army here they're at 34 on offense. Brent Davis. I can't even read my own handwriting. Is your offensive play caller for the Black Knights here. Excellent at drive efficiency. Army is just a machine at driving the football down the field, right? I mean, they are able to put together long drives to put up points, and they are tough to stop. They're at 71 in explosive drives here. They don't rely on big plays, to be able to put up points. Number 33 in play efficiency. I mean, and that's a decent number controlling for opponent field position, but this is really like 3 or 4 yards in a cloud of dust again and again and again and again. 69 in negative drives. They are a little susceptible to teams being able to shut them down, force 3-and-outs, force turnovers. But what you would expect, a huge run pass split. Number 2 in effective rush, 126 in effective pass. You know what you got to do when you go in and play Army. This Wake Forest defense is pretty decent. I mean, I do think in a lot of ways it is tough to put together a really good defense at Wake. This is a pretty good number for them, kind of a middle of the Power 5 number. Number 9 in drive efficiency. This is where they really shine. It is hard to, drive the length of the field. They do find ways to get off the field through timely play calling and execution. Lyle Hemphill is your defensive coordinator here. Where they struggle, and this is going to be what makes this, I think, in a lot of ways a really interesting matchup, is that they struggle so much on the yards per play metrics. In some ways you can look at it as strength on strength against what Army does really well in that drive efficiency number, but it's going to be really interesting to see, because they may be more susceptible than you'd expect to like big plays from Army, given some of these numbers here. Their play efficiency number is not great at 68 overall. Negative drives, not forcing a lot of 3-and-outs, not forcing a lot of turnovers. They have a decent split against the run and the pass, but not great, right? You'd kind of like to be coming in against Army. Of course, you'd like to be just excellent against the run. I'm interested to see. This should be a really good game. Wake, we've got with 58% win probability on the road. Only a 1.94 favorite here. Looks to be a really tight game. If any team, if anybody finishes ahead on turnovers, that team should likely win in this game. So that's really it. I mean, this should be a fun week. We've got some interesting games, of course. Like we didn't cover the UCLA Oregon game. That should be a tight one as well. It started out with Oregon, I believe, listed as the favorite in Vegas, opened up at Circa, and that, of course, is flipped to UCLA. A team that's playing. I mean, Oregon's since that Ohio State game, and I think we saw what really the problems were with that Ohio State defense in that game. Ohio State at least has made a change there. Oregon certainly has not. I mean, Anthony Brown and that offense are really scuffling along, but the defense isn't in a much better place either. Some of that is injuries, but Oregon, I think, has some real soul searching to do after this season about how they are developing, because they are turning into a team, and maybe this changes next year, but they are turning into a little bit of a team that is better in recruiting than they are on the football field. So, but I'm excited. This should be a fun one. I was up late last night watching Arizona eventually lose to Washington. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. You can find all the stats you just saw and a lot more at sharpcollegefootball.com. I'm Rob Bowen. I'm the econometrician chicken behind Beta Rank. You can find me at Beta Rank FB or at Sharp College Football. We have a Pac-12 podcast at 12 Pack Radio. You can find all the back episodes of that podcast at sharpcollegefootball.com/12 Pack Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy your Saturday football. There are no late games today. The last game kicks off at 7:30 Eastern time. So nice for me on Eastern time. I won't be up late till 2 in the morning again watching the Pac-12. So enjoy your football Saturday. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you again next week.